the beginning of the season, Titans were known as the underdogs. Now that the season has ended, not so much the underdogs anymore, as men's basketball finished third in the Big West Conference and with a 17-15 record overall. Coach Dedrick Taylor stopped by the studio to talk to us about the season, machetes, and Twitter accounts. Plus, a one-on-one exclusive interview with the newest member of the Titan family. Yes, a lot has changed for women's basketball, and Coach Jeff Harada is more than happy to take on the job. All this and much more on the final episode of Inside the Basket. Hello and welcome to our final episode of Inside the Basket. I'm Jasmine Arenas alongside Titan sports reporter Christian Vigil.
Hello, good to be here.
Daily Titan sports reporter Harrison Fagan.
Thanks for having me on.
And men's basketball head coach Dedrick Taylor.
Hello.
Welcome, Coach.
Welcome, Coach.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
How are you? How's everything going? How's the offseason?
Good. Things are good. Things are hectic as usual, trying to finish out the semester the right way with the last 2 or 3 weeks of school. And then obviously recruiting never takes a backseat to anything. So we've been off on the road recruiting and landed a couple more guys to add to our foe. So we're moving in the right direction with a lot of activity.
Recruiting is a good topic to talk about, but I'm going to stop you there. We're going to go back to 4 years ago when you received the news or offer to be Titan basketball's new head coach, your first head coach job as well.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that moment and what were your emotions at that time?
It was almost surreal because, you know, for me, I'm from here. And so immediately the opportunity to be home in front of my friends and most importantly, my family was the first thought that ran through my mind. But obviously after that, there was just a pure level of excitement and joy and gratitude and then a different level of humbleness just because there were quite a few applicants that came after this job. And so for me to be from here and to have the opportunity to be a head coach basically in my own community was something that I couldn't ignore. I mean, it was exciting, and then it's just the rat race of trying to get everything together with the staff, getting here, finding out about our team. It just kind of went from excitement to complete chaos, and it was a fun process, though.
Was it everything you thought it would be?
No, it wasn't. There's been some ups and downs and some different bumps and bruises that we've endured. But, you know, anytime you want to chase success, I think you're going to have those types of things. And to expect them not to happen, I think, is not very smart. And we've tried to prepare for different things, but we've been hit by a lot of things. But to say that we're still standing and we're still moving forward, I think is the most significant thing for our program. Talk
about your biggest recruit, your first biggest recruit. How did you acquire them? What was the process like, and did it all work out?
Yeah, it didn't all work out, but our first recruit was a kid by the name of Sheldon Blackwell. And Sheldon was a guy who I was familiar with him. We had recruited his high school, and his high school is a very prominent program here in this area. And so for us at Cal State Fullerton to get off the page with a young man from Etiwanda High School, in my opinion, I thought was a huge step in the right direction just because getting a high school kid was normally unusual here, but getting a high school kid from a prominent program was extremely unusual. And so for us to be able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone in our first swing at bat, I thought was extraordinarily good for us moving forward. And so he kind of became the pillar of our recruiting process just because he's an unbelievable young man. And he comes from a great family. His brother and his sister played Division I basketball. They both are playing professional now. So he comes from great stock. And so he was a young man that I think kind of started off and gave us a blueprint of the kinds of kids that we wanted to recruit. And so he became the poster child, if you will. And so we kind of ventured off and ended up landing a couple of international kids and some different kids from some different areas. And so we kind of put together a 4-man class, our first recruiting class. And as luck would have it, none of them ended up finishing here. One of them ended up turning pro. A couple guys transferred, but that's just the nature of the beast. And so it was a good microcosm of what was to come in terms of signing some good high character guys and just going through the transition of some guys being here, some guys not, and all the different things that go into, you know, trying to build a successful program.
But you're veering through the right direction with getting high character kids and
going along with that, you know?
I think we are. I don't think, I know we are. We're heading in the right direction as far as the kinds of kids that we want, and so their character and their talent is starting to kind of match up. And so I think we saw a great deal of those things happen towards the latter part of our year, where guys just started to just come together and have one common purpose. And I think when you do that, the end result, which is what we had, I think we finished 10 out of 11 or 10 out of 13 of our last games. And so that part of it was extremely exciting to see, but it was also motivating and inspiring, so that, you know, we know what we're looking for as we go out recruiting and kind of know what to expect moving forward into next year.
When you're out there recruiting, what's that pitch like? Can you give us a preview of what a Cal State Fuller, how would you pitch somebody on coming to play for Cal State Fullerton basketball?
A lot of it is where they're coming from. So if you're pitching a kid that's local, the first thing you want to talk about is an opportunity to play in a tournament, because they're from here, so the location's not as different, it's not as unique. So if it's a kid that's not from here, the first thing you mention is your location in northern Orange County and Los Angeles and all the different beaches. And just a quick example is we just signed a kid from Slovenia, and the only thing he knew of was Los Angeles and the beach. And so it was kind of a relatively easy sell, the weather. And then once you start to get into the meat of our presentation, we immediately start to talk about the academic opportunity that Cal State Fullerton offers, but more importantly, the real world experience that you can get right outside of our door here. And so those are some of the things that we initially talk about. But, you know, for the most part, it's a selling job. But our staff does an excellent job of making sure that we identify people that are really willing to hear the message that we have at Cal State Fullerton, because it's a unique opportunity all in itself.
Does having the fact that, you know, you guys have had consecutive Freshman of the Year awards with Jackson Rowe and Khalil Ahmad, is that part of the pitch to be able to bring in young talent and help them grow as players?
No question. It's a huge part of the pitch, just because it speaks to the opportunity to immediately get on the floor, which is a lot of what kids are after. They want to go in somewhere and they don't want to sit. They want to go play. And so it gives us an opportunity to kind of say the proof's in the pudding. The opportunity's there. If you come in and work and you develop, you're going to have an opportunity to compete for that award, but most importantly, an opportunity to make a significant impact on a program that's heading in the right direction.
Definitely. And Coach, let's move on to talk about your new recruits. You were telling us that you are reaching out internationally. Anybody locally?
Yeah, there's three kids locally that will be joining us next year. There's Johnny Wang, who's from Santa Margarita High School. Again, comes from a very, very prominent high school program right down the road. And so as you can imagine, that does miracles and wonders for both of us. He gets to come where he's most comfortable with, 40 minutes up the road. But he also brings, I think, a different fan base with him that people that are following him, have followed him, they get to come right up the road and see him. And he's got great size. He's big, he's strong, he's physical. He's 6'9", 240 pounds as an 18-year-old kid. So we're excited about that, obviously.
And he moves.
He moves. And then we have another young man who's originally from Minnesota, but he went to school out here in Los Angeles. His name is Landon Kirkwood. He's 6'5", super, super athletic. And again, he will give us a different dynamic just because of his size, his length, and his athleticism. And then there's another kid that I'm skipping out on his name right now. But then we have another young man that's 6'9" from Texas. Josh Pitts is his name. And then Daniel Van Zandt, who's on the smaller scale. But our league is kind of known for undersized guards. And I think he will fit right in with what has had success in our league, particularly from a point guard position.
Talking about point guards, you did have some good point guards this year. Talk about, just sum up your season. How do you feel about this past season compared to other seasons? Was this like your breakout season?
Yeah, you know, it's weird because I really don't feel like myself or our staff has had a chance to sit back and kind of take a deep breath and say, wow, we've accomplished this, because the rat race, as I mentioned, like as soon as the season, the night we lost to Weber State, we have a recruiting meeting after the game. We send our families home, and we're on the board trying to figure out, okay, who's going to see this kid, and what about this kid, and well, we need this, and we need that. And so really, I don't know that our staff has kind of sat down and said, wow, we've accomplished something that hasn't been done here in a long time. Of course, we're excited about it internally, but what I think it did for our staff and even our players is it just gave us a little taste of what success is like. And so the motivation and the desire and the drive to continue that is ratcheted up at a different level. And so I think that's really what happened. But looking back on our season, I was most proud of the fact that our guys stayed together. they found a rhythm amongst themselves. They trusted each other, and they bought into how we needed to play. And I thought the fruits of their labor bared itself towards the end of the year in terms of how we finished the season, and even kind of stumbling into, not necessarily stumbling, but rolling into the conference tournament without Jackson Rowe. That was a huge.
A lot of fans were disappointed.
Yeah.
I remember sitting there at the game and they were all wondering, like, what is going on? Like, why isn't he playing?
So Jackson had a stress fracture, or excuse me, a stress reaction.
Okay.
And the next thing is a stress fracture. And so our doctors and our medical staff, Kyle Burnett, who's our trainer, was able to catch it before it got to the fracture and basically just shut him down the last 2 or 3 games of conference play. And he was not available to us in the postseason, which I think may have changed the outcome of some of those games had he been on the floor. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's averaging a double-double as a freshman in the year, and his motor and his energy, and he's a physical guy. And so you miss all of those things, but I was most excited because our team absorbed what he brought and just continued to move forward. And somebody else, a couple other guys were able to step up, which I think will help us in the long run.
So Jackson will be back next year. You got your extension. We know you're going to be here for the next couple of years. What does success look like for Cal State Fullerton moving forward? How do you measure that over the next couple of years?
You know, I've said this, finishing third, it's great. But our goal is to win the Big West Conference and to win the Big West Conference tournament. And so anything short of that, we'll be excited about as long as we won more than we lost. But the goal is to win the Big West Conference championship and get into the NCAA tournament. And so I feel like with this group coming back, there's enough of them that had experience on the floor and played in some pivotal minutes that their experience, again, will bear out and give us an opportunity to finish in the top half of our league and head into the Big West Conference championship. And just being on the other side of that thing, the first 2 or 3 years we were here, we were 9th. We missed it, 8th. And now you go in as a 3rd seed. The mindset's different. The game's different. All of a sudden you're expected to win, the confidence is different, and so I'm hopeful that what we went through this year will allow ourselves to gain a different level of confidence to achieve what we set out to do, which is bring a Big West Conference championship here to Cal State Fullerton.
With Lionheart and Trey leaving the program, obviously things are going to change. Those were 2 big contributors for you guys last year. Is part of the plan to get Jackson more usage, or how does your style of play change going into next year?
No, I think it definitely changes because Jackson is a guy that in the post, he gives us an option down there, which we really haven't had that as a legit option. And so, and I don't mean that disrespectfully to any of our players, but Jackson gives you an opportunity to be able to space the floor the way that we want. Throw the ball inside and let teams do what they're going to do. Are they going to double them? Are they going to go one-on-one and then play from there? And so I think we'll have an opportunity to play from the inside out more so than what we had in the past. But we still have a pretty strong group of guys on the wing that also can go and get different buckets at different levels. And so our style of play may change in terms of just the focus a little bit, utilizing Jackson more and trying to create an opportunity for him to do some different things. But we're still going to try to defend and rebound and run, and we're still going to try to play as fast as we can, play well. We're still going to try and create space and share the basketball. I don't feel like I'm going to ever go away from that. That's just what I love.
Okay, Coach. So moving on, this is random, and it wasn't even on the script, but I just want to ask because I'm really curious. Do you ever watch our highlights after games or anything like that?
Wow, you put me on the spot here. So I typically don't.
Okay.
But someone that I trust will send me different things from Twitter or from some of your writing or some of your, like, these types of things, and I'll watch them.
Okay, so the only reason I asked was because Christian was the beat reporter for the men's basketball team, so you always saw him out there.
Yeah.
And he would pick out the best quotes from your post-game conferences.
Yeah.
And so there was one where you described your team as, what was it? I forgot.
There was a lot, but I remember one
Where the
specific.
machete
Yeah, there was one specifically where it came at a loss, but I think because turnovers, etc. You mentioned that because of those turnovers, it was like getting a machete and cutting off our toes.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Where do you come up with these quotes? Like,
where does that come from?
Club is taking a machete out and literally just cutting off our own toes with the way that we're turning the ball over. I don't know. Like, I really don't know. I have, I guess, an expansive mind when it comes to being able to express. And so just so you know, What I'm really concentrating on there when I'm with you guys is not to cuss. I'm so worried about saying one of those words.
I edit most of these videos so I can put like a bleep in there.
So when I'm talking, like that's the creative side of trying not to cuss. So I use those different analogies. You know, I try to encourage our guys to express themselves because they're really smart and really bright guys. And I feel like cussing is for dumb guys like me that don't have a vast vocabulary.
Do you find that, I know it's on the court, you're not really thinking about watching what you say, but if you're coaching on the sidelines, do you catch yourself a couple times?
Yeah, I do, because my mom is sitting like 3 or 4 rows behind me, and she is not good with me cussing.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a quick note here. So anytime you see me on the floor coaching and my hand goes to my mouth, there's
that's the signal.
There's some good language
I think we
coming
have
out.
some B-roll we can play over.
I think so. I think we caught you a couple times.
There's some colorful language being spewed at that moment in time. But, you know, I really attribute that to just not necessarily trying to make light of a situation, but really try to give you guys what it's like, you know, in terms of a real world analogy. And literally, when you walk into a game and you turn the ball over, you turn the ball over 12 to 15 to 16 times. I mean, why don't you just shoot your foot off? Seriously, and then try to walk. I was listening to the Spurs and the Rockets last night, and I think it was late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
One team had 4 turnovers, the other team had 6.
Yeah.
That's 10 combined.
In one quarter.
In one quarter. I mean, like they had already played 3 quarters, so there was 1 quarter left, and so I'm like, man, how do you do that? Like that literally that's how you win games. You don't turn the ball over. Well,
Exactly.
we're still trying to figure it out.
What has this journey taught you so far? So I know that we bombarded you with questions about recruitment and then 4 years ago, but now tell me, like, so far, where you are now, what has this journey taught you?
Wow. I don't know that we have enough time to sit and talk about some of the things that we've learned, but I think some of the things that we've learned that immediately jump off the page are just leadership qualities and leadership ways of impacting our guys, because they're all different. They come from different backgrounds. They learn different. They hear different. And so just being able to continue to invest in them individually and continue to invest in them as a group is probably one of the most important things that I didn't necessarily learn it. I knew it, but I've been able to learn different ways of accomplishing that. And I think that's the most important part for the seat that I sit in, is just making sure that our guys understand who they are, what they are, and what the expectations are of them. And if they can live up to those expectations, I feel like they have the best of everything in terms of an opportunity. And so and that's not even necessarily specific to basketball, like that's across the board. I mean, the same type of competitive spirit and the same type of energy that I'm after them on the floor, I want to see it in the classroom because they're capable. And so for you to be a high-level performer on the basketball court and not so high in the classroom, that just tells me you don't care. And so then you become an unbalanced person. And so as a head coach and as somebody that views themselves as somewhat of a mentor, I just want to make sure that these guys understand this opportunity, what it means to take advantage of, and then what they can get out of it at the end of it. But at the end of it, I want to make sure that they also understand that, hey, you're required to give back. You're required to make sure when a freshman walks in the door, hey, man, listen, this is how we do things. You're required to, when you get out in life, hey, man, this is how we do things. This is what we do. And so it just kind of tries to build our own community that's consistent of high character guys that care about the end result, but also are excited about being an active participant in that end result.
And it's always not so easy to
I'll tell you something real quick, too.
focused.
So I don't know if you guys can pan on this, but there's a little bald spot right here. It wasn't that big when I got here. It was not that big, and it's not because I have a bad barber. It is a direct reflection of what we do every single day. And there's some good days and there's some not so good days, but at the end of it, it's life. And so you really get to teach, in my opinion, life lessons, but you also get to learn. You know, like every day I wake up, and I think Bill Belichick said this, is like as a head coach, or maybe it was Bill Parcells actually. As a head coach, when you get to the office, there are going to be 3 things that happen to you, at least, that you didn't expect, you didn't account for, you have no idea what they are, but they're going to happen. And you've got to learn how to stay focused on what you want to get done, but then you got to deal with those things, and that's what happens.
That's where the
That's where it all comes from.
All right, we have one game that we're going to play with you, and then we'll be done.
Sure.
So how well do you know your Titans? This game is basically we looked for 3 tweets from your roster, the players on your roster, and you have to try to figure out who said what.
Oh, shucks.
We'll give you options.
Hope you got the bleep button ready.
Don't worry.
All right, so the first tweet is, my mom just made a Snapchat. I'm excited. Was it Lionheart Leslie, Kyle Allman Jr., Richard Peters, Darcy Malone, or Trey Coggins?
Woo. I'm going to go with Kyle Allman Jr.
You are correct.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice. How about that? That was a total guess, too, by the way. Total guess.
All right. The next tweet is, why people hate on me at Lionheart Leslie?
That has me stumped. But I'm going to go with Richard Peters.
No.
Daggum.
It's a tricky one, but it was actually Lionheart Leslie.
I should have known that. That's something he would do. That's exactly something he would do.
Yeah, I don't know if I've
telling
ever
me?
seen somebody at themselves
Yeah.
on Twitter. But
Well, I'll tell you what, hang out with him. You'll see a lot of things. You'll see a lot of things. This guy, I mean, you should just go visit his hometown. You'll understand. Completely understand.
All right, and the last tweet. Anyone notice how friendship and French dip are practically the same?
Wow.
Was it
I actually guessed this one correctly when she was trying to make
Darcy
me guess.
Malone, Kyle Allman Jr., Richard Peters, Trey Coggins, or
Austin Owisiga.
Okay, or Austin Owisiga.
I'm going to say Darcy Malone.
That's exactly right. That is something
That is
Darcy would say.
Darcy.
That is only something Darcy would say,
Yeah.
as he's a really unique player.
Yeah, he
I
is extremely
love
unique.
Darcy.
And again, that just goes to show we have some unique personalities. You have Darcy Malone all the way from Australia, and a guy like Lionheart Leslie from Houma, Louisiana, and they couldn't be any more different. But they found a way to come together with a common bond for a common goal, and that's, again, that almost gives me goosebumps right now, just because that's what it's about. Connecting people from all different walks of life in all different parts of the world, and now they'll have a bond that will forever connect them.
Yeah, is Darcy the funny guy on the team? Like, does he bring that out of
No,
you?
what's crazy is there's 2 guys that are the funny guys that you would probably never, ever suspect, because when they come around me, and I'm sure when they come around you, they don't even say their name, let alone act themselves.
Yeah.
So there's Dwight,
Okay.
Ramos.
Sorry, Ramos, sorry.
Yeah.
and then Devon Clare. I've
Okay.
heard those 2 guys are quite the character. So,
And they're youngsters, too.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's even scary. I mean, they're starting to, as you know, they're starting to grow and become sophomores already, and there's different ways that we can tell, but their personalities are starting to grow, and they interact with our staff differently. Particularly with me, it's funny. I've heard they do some interesting impersonations of me.
Have you heard any of those impersonations?
They won't do them around
They
me.
won't?
No, they
Oh,
won't do them around
that's
me.
surprising.
So,
Josh
yeah.
Gentry had an interesting one.
Josh did?
Yeah.
That's scary. That's scary. That guy. I
All
hope he
right.
is.
Well, thanks, Coach, for joining
Thanks
us.
for
We
having me.
appreciate
Thank you,
you.
Coach.
Thanks for
and
having
now we'll move on over to a one-on-one with Jeff Harada.
Well, women's basketball is headed to a new era, the Harada era. Please welcome Coach Jeff Harada to the studio.
Thank you, Jasmine. Thanks for having me.
Of course. How do you feel so far about the
Good,
off-season?
good. A little overwhelmed right now, but slowly getting settled and figuring things out. And it seems like every time I check one thing off the list, 3 more things pop up. So, just trying to finish the task at hand every day, and slowly and but surely, hopefully, it'll lessen and lessen.
And this is your first head coach job at a D1 college, and you've got a hefty project going on with the girls now. How have you been able to embark onto this new project, and how are you going to turn around? That's 2 questions now, but how are you going to turn around this program?
Well, I mean, step by step. We had a team meeting a couple times already, and I got a chance to really sit with them as a team and talk a little bit about myself and get to know them. And we've also had a series of individual meetings where it was a little more intimate, where they could really express themselves. I could get to know them more as people and kind of gauge their personalities, kind of like we talked about before. So it's been good. It's been a learning experience for me, trying to figure out these young women, and for them as well, trying to get a feel for me. So, so far so good. You know, they've all said the right things, and they're eager and they're excited for a fresh start and just a change. And I'm hoping to be able to provide that.
How do you want this team to play? What style of play are you taking on with this team?
I want us to play the right way. You know, I want us to play the game the right way, you know, offensively and defensively, share the basketball, play great defense, but play together, and just come out and compete every night, you know, regardless of who we're playing. I just want us to really focus on, you know, the game plan and figure out, you know, how we're going to put ourselves in the best position to be successful.
At the press conference, you did say that you want this team to play defense a lot. That's what you're really big on. Mm-hmm. Have you already found any players, any key players that will be able to take on that role for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, obviously Deja Smith is just, you know, she's a good player, and she's got great size, great athleticism, and I think, you know, she's hungry to really prove herself, I think, her next 2 seasons. So, you know, she can do some nice things, you know, both offensively and defensively, but, you know, we're counting on her to kind of man the paint for us, you know, and be that kind of defensive intimidator, you know, and not necessarily block every shot, but, you know, make them think that she's going to block every shot and, you know, get a ton of rebounds. You know, I think her goal, she told me, was to average a double-double next season, which I thought was a very realistic goal for her. And if she can do that, we're going to have a good year.
That's really exciting to have a player who's blocking shots and just making everybody think that they're that powerful on the court.
Sure.
That's amazing. That's amazing basketball, period.
No, for sure.
All right, so I know you said you spoke to some of the girls. Any of the girls that you're excited to see this season?
Oh, all of them. I'm just, you know, like we said, it's a fresh start for everyone, and I think they all know that.
Yeah.
So slates are wiped clean. You know, every position's up for grabs, and you know, the work that they put in from now until the preseason, you know, is going to determine a lot. So, you know, I've expressed to them what you put in the off season is what you're going to get out in the regular season and so forth. So, it's exciting to see, you know, who is going to step up with this challenge and this new opportunities. And I'm excited just to mentor them along the way.
What's one thing you want Titan fans to know about women's basketball before the fall season begins?
I mean, the biggest thing is we're going to change the way we do a lot of things. You know, I told the kids we're going to change the way we practice. We're going to change the way we play. We're going to change the way we eat, change the way we work out, change the way we game plan. So there's a lot of change that's going to be happening. So hopefully, you know, ideally we'd like it to happen sooner rather than later. But, you know, the big picture goal is to have our record change to where we're actually winning more games than we're losing. And we're actually competing for Big West championships along the way.
Have you been recruiting lately?
A lot.
Any big recruits?
Yeah, actually, I got here, you know, on Wednesday, kind of got settled, took the recruiting test on Thursday, and passed it, and went out to recruit Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So there was a tournament in Lake Forest, one of the last spring tournaments of the year, club tournaments. So got to see a lot of kids there, and, you know, I've been getting tons of phone calls and emails from players, from coaches, you know, who are looking still, whether they're freshmen, whether they're transfers. But we have a good, you know, handful of players who we like, and we've identified as, you know, the type of players we want to bring in here. So now it's just a matter of getting them to campus and figuring out if this is where they want to be.
How do you approach these kids? How do you tell them, you know, you need to come play for the Titans? How do you pick up the slack with that?
Well, I mean, the message, the thing that I'm selling right now is, you know, obviously playing time and just a chance to do something special, you know, a chance to really have a defining career to accomplish something. You know, we all know the history of the program. I mean, we haven't won in almost 3 decades. And to be able to go into a program at the next level and to be able to change it, to be able to have an impact that way instead of just going to a school and playing your 4 years and leaving and having a, you know, an okay experience. You know, you can really have a special experience here. I liken it to almost what Scott Rook did at Oregon State. You know, he came from a D3 school where he was pretty successful and took over, you know, a struggling Oregon State program and hadn't won. And, you know, he found the right kids for his system, and I mean, we all know how good they've been in the last couple of years. So just trying to create that challenge for them, that experience where they can have a meaningful 4 years here and do something special, to something that they'll remember, when their career is over. That, hey, I was part of that team or that class that really helped elevate this program to where it is and where it should be.
Switching gears to you.
Okay.
How are you doing? How do you feel in your new position? What's it like being in Southern California so far?
Well, I'm wearing shorts today, so that says one thing. I haven't worn shorts to work in a long time. But, it's been a great transition. I think the biggest thing is everybody's been so helpful and friendly. I feel like really a genuine sense of excitement because there's a change. And, nothing against the previous staff or anything, but it's just, I just feel like people are excited just to see what's going to happen next.
Definitely.
And so, yeah, it's been, again, everybody's been so welcoming and very helpful and really showing me the ropes, kind of, helping me figure things out. And, it's not just administrators, but it's, other athletic teams, staff members. I've bumped into some faculty along the way, and they've said hello and, stuff like that. So it's pretty neat that...
you feel welcome.
Yeah, I just, I don't feel like a stranger walking around. And obviously, it's such a big school,
yeah.
You kind of can get lost in the crowd sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's good that people, are aware, and you can just feel that kind of a buzz. It's just kind of an exciting time for me. And but, I mean, Southern California, great weather, for Fullerton, Orange County, just a great location, and I'm just really excited and happy to be here.
Have you gone to any baseball games?
Not yet. I wish I had the time.
Or talk to Coach Rick Vanderhook?
Yeah, I plan on doing so, for sure coming up. And,
yeah.
Right now, actually the movers just came this morning and finally got my furniture here, and so
you're just settling in. Yeah.
I don't have to sleep on the floor. I bought a blow-up bed, but actually my back felt better when I slept on the floor. So
you might make that transition.
Yeah, but now I have my bed, so I'm super excited, and my body will feel better now, and so now I'll probably have more energy to do stuff.
And be able to work better and get the girls going.
Exactly.
All right, Coach, thank you so much for joining us on today's broadcast. Well, it's been a long 2 seasons, but this season has finally come to an end. Both coaches seemed optimistic about the future and are excited to see what's in store for Titan basketball in the fall. Until next time, I'm Jasmine Arenas for the final episode of Inside the Basket.